All right, this show, Oxygen Show, the Oxygen Network, it's a planned show called All My Baby's Mamas. It features a man who is allegedly a rapper called Shawty Low, and the 11 children he has fathered with 10 different women. Sounds fascinating. I can hardly wait to watch it. But apparently a lot of people love these sorts of shows. What's the Honey Boo Boo one and all of these shows which don't necessarily showcase the best of our society. So let's talk about these kind of things with Erika Katz, who is a parenting expert and author of Bonding Over Beauty. She joins me in the studio. Nice to see you, Erika. And Dr. Dale Archer, clinical psychiatrist, joining us via Skype from Louisiana. Good to see you, Doctor.
Good to be here.
All right, Erika, let me come to you first. What message do these kind of shows, and this All My Baby's Mama show in particular, send?
Well, I think for young kids, they really don't think that reality shows aren't real. They believe that everything they see is real. And while we as adults may look at it and see it for what it is, they actually look up to people on reality shows. I even know my son who watched Jersey Shore, and he came home and put spray tan all over himself, gel in his hair, chains on. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, this is cool." So what concerns me about shows like this, it's going to show this rapper in a very positive light because it's sort of glorifying what he's doing. And while we might look at it as for what it really is, I don't think kids get that it's really a bad message that women are just there to have children for you and then you kind of move on.
Dr. Dale, you've written a piece at foxnews.com which goes to one of the points, exactly one of the points Erika was making, about how we, beyond the All My Baby Mamas debate, what do we need to do to make being responsible cool? I guess being responsible doesn't make fun TV in the eyes of the program makers.
No, being responsible is not cool. And getting drunk, doing drugs, having multiple kids out of wedlock, not having a job, those are all considered cool. And so the big question here is not what do we do to keep the shows on the air, it's what do we do, what do we tell our kids so that they no longer want to watch it. Because as long as the demand is there, the shows are going to keep coming. So we have to approach this from a family standpoint, from a school standpoint, getting the message and the role models to speak to these kids that, look, this is not what's cool. What's cool is being responsible, making good grades and graduating, and then going to college, and then getting a job, and then having a family. That's what's cool. That's what leads to happiness and success.
But that, Erika, that's not what gets ratings, is it? I mean, it's a chicken and egg situation. How do you lead how do the program makers lead people? And because are they catering to the audience, or is the audience catering its taste to them? Which comes first?
Well, I actually hate to admit this, but sometimes I like to watch reality television. It's fun to watch. And it's sort of watching people do things that you wouldn't necessarily do and letting them make the mistakes. And
but doesn't there have to be a limit on where we go with that reality TV? Isn't that the point?
Well, I think there should be. I think that we have to realize that there's an influence on our kids. And I believe that networks should have some responsibility to our society. I mean, we're not allowed to say expletives on television. Now they bleep them. But we're not allowed to say certain things, and I believe that the Oxygen Network should be a little more responsible than to show something like this. And what really bothers me is it tells women, well, you don't really need an accomplishment, just have a baby with some rapper. And the more you act crazy on this show, I guarantee you, the woman with the child who acts the craziest, the most jealous, and the most outrageous is the one that's going to get the most airtime. And when you see Nene Leakes and you see Bethany Frankel and you see how much money they've made and how reality stars are not a joke anymore, they're really making money, they're on legitimate shows now, this is a great way in. So I think it's very negative, and I really don't like the message it sends to young girls either. Go have a baby with a rapper.
Doctor, does it start though with the parents? If the parents actually refuse to allow their kids to watch these shows, is that a possible way to deal with this?
Well, I think there are a couple of ways to deal with it. I think more appropriately would be for occasionally the parent to sit down with the child and watch the show with them and discuss it with them and explain. Look, you know what, this is what's going on this TV show, but let's think about how would that play out in real life? How would that play out for one of these mothers or one of these children? I think that's a much more appropriate way to handle it.
Right. There's one of our viewers writing in here saying, you know, we glamorize these people. I wonder where the kids in this show will be in 10 to 15 years, Erika. And you do worry, and it's not just the people watching it, but the people in it. I mean, the Octomom and all of these people, they haven't exactly ended up in the best place in life.
No, they haven't. And like the doctor said, it's very hard to forbid your kids to watch. Right. With smartphones, we've lost control as parents. You can't control the texting. It's so hard. And the schools sort of expect kids now to have cell phones if you need to reach them in emergency. Right. So to say we're going to forbid it, it's just unlikely. I try at home. I have two kids, a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. And I can't control everything. You go to the gas station, there's television on. You go everywhere, there's TV. So to say parents forbid it, I think is just unrealistic and not going to happen. But I do agree with the doctor. You know, it's a great opportunity sometimes to sit down and say, this is not the way to live, and why would you want to have babies with all these women and then you have to pay for it, you know how much diapers are. I mean, I do have these discussions with my son because he thinks these rappers are so cool. And what I don't like about this particular rapper, and a lot of rappers, they have these videos where it's 15 women around him, I don't know if you've seen this video, and he's dancing, they're all in their underwear, and they're basically just there for eye candy for him. And again, I think it's misogynistic, and I don't like the message it is to my son. But I do think a network like Oxygen should have some responsibility and not air stuff like this. The problem is they're there to make money, and people are going to watch it, and they like watching the train wreck. So it's a difficult situation.
Dr. Archer, do you think there's any way in which the network can be persuaded to do less of this, or do we have to accept the reality that reality TV this kind of reality TV is there to stay, and therefore it's down to us as individuals and families to deal with it?
Well, I think reality TV is definitely here to stay, but the question would be, what will the content of reality TV be 10 years from now? Does it continue to get more and more outrageous? Or at some point, does the pendulum start to swing? Personally, I think that all of this is a result of the period of the excess years, the big, incredible boom years that we went through, and the entitlement mindset of the kids that have grown up over the last 10 to 15, 20 years. And I think now, with the economic times starting to get tough, and with jobs starting to be hard to come by, all of these things are going to start to become more important than how much you can party and how much you can get drunk and how many kids you can have out of wedlock. So I think the economic times are going to be key. And interestingly, I was talking to my father, who grew up during the Great Depression, and he said, you know, back in those times, we didn't watch things like that, or would never have watched things like that, because we were just trying to survive. So I think when you get in tough times, all of the fluff gets washed out, and things become much more real and much more realistic.
Interesting. Dr. Dale Archer, clinical psychiatrist, joining us from Skype. They're joining us via Skype from Louisiana. Thanks very much, Dr. Dale. Erika, I'll give you the last word on this just quickly. Some of our viewers weighing in saying this is the dumbing down of America. Great, isn't it? Raymond says there are literally hundreds of TV channels, and the new TV and cable systems let parents block channels and shows. Come on. But it isn't that simple, is it? And kids, as you say, kids find a way around any of those.
I don't know if he has a 12-year-old son, but I do, and he gets on a school bus every day, and he has a smartphone. And to control, the phones don't let you control everything. So even if you block the show at home, it's going to go on YouTube, and then he gets it on the phone. And so I just think that's unrealistic.
So parents have to accept this is here, deal with it, talking to your kids is the best way.
And use it as an opportunity to say this is not cool and this is not a way to live. And, maybe show them what is cool, show them your family, and maybe you have a nice family, and show them something positive as well. But you have to use it as something to discuss. And also talk to your son and your daughter about how they view themselves and how they view women.
All right. Well, great to see you. Good advice, Erika Katz, parenting expert, and Erika, of course, the author of Bonding Over Beauty. Great to see you. Thank you very much for being here.